This is the FM Gold channel of All India Radio. In the program News Analysis, now we bring you a discussion on inauguration of first airport in Sikkim. The participants are T.R. Ramachandran, political analyst, and Neelab Shrivastava, journalist.
The Prime Minister today inaugurated the Pakyong Airport in Sikkim. This is considered to be a very important development because till now the nearest airport for Gangtok and for Sikkim, the state capital of Gangtok for Sikkim, was in Bagdogra, which was over 100 kilometers far away in West Bengal. And with this inauguration of this airport, the picturesque state of Sikkim, which is known for its natural beauty, its organic farming, and it's some of the rich resources that it has, is now wonderfully air connected with the mainland of the country. The airport that has been inaugurated is about 201 acres spread on the top of a hill, which is in the name of the Pakyong village itself. And from October 4, we are expecting of the commercial airline operations. It will start with Kolkata and Bagdogra in the initial phase, and then it will be gradually connected to the rest of the centers in India. And also there are plans to increase it, to take these flights to neighboring countries on the India's east side. Mr. Ramachandran, how do you see, is this very important point to connect the northeast and the northeastern region with India and India's mainland?
I think in very many aspects a very significant development, because this airport was long overdue. The only connectivity to Sikkim was by road, and there was no other way that you could reach that very picturesque northeastern state. The other advantage is the Chinese border from this particular airport is only about 60 kilometers away. So I think it comes into use for several purposes, not just that there is now air connectivity to Sikkim, and it will allow easier travel of the people out of Sikkim and into Sikkim, plus it will help in tourism of that very beautiful state. I think the Prime Minister did speak on this aspect, saying, the importance of an airport here cannot really be undermined given the sensitivity of the state. And yes, in certain parts of the northeast, the development of an airport has now become an absolute necessity because of various concerns, including that of the border states. These are several of them are border states having some very troublesome neighbors to deal with. So I think in the overall context, the operational part of this particular airport, about 25 kilometers away from the capital Gangtok of the state of Sikkim in the northeast, is very significant and cannot really be undermined. Needless to say that this will also help in taking goods to that particular state, because being landlocked and the only entry point to Sikkim is via road, sometimes because of landslides and so on, the roads also get affected. There is no traffic into Sikkim or out of Sikkim several days on end till the roads are clear. And I think this is a very welcome development. The Prime Minister himself has spoken at great length. It was their intention to really take development and build infrastructure in the northeast, and they have been able to do a considerable amount of it in the last 4 years. And I think it is no mean job to find a strip in those heights to be able to land a commercial aircraft, particularly a jet aircraft carrying about 180, 160 passengers. And it's a very, very welcome thing because connectivity improves and Sikkim also becomes closer to the mainland. I think one of the biggest problems that previous governments have had in dealing with the Northeast is also the fact that they have found it very difficult for bringing the people of the Northeast into the national mainstream. That is not the case anymore, because a decade ago, you might not have seen very many people from the Northeast anywhere in the national capital or in other parts of the country like Karnataka, Bengaluru, for example, or even Chennai for that matter, and other states, Gujarat, for example, because many of them go seeking employment outside the states in the Northeast. But that has improved steadily over the years. A large number of students now come to Delhi and go to other universities for higher education. Simultaneously, with the infrastructure really developing well, I think it has led to a lot of other inducements for people to set up industry and so on and so forth. I think in the overall context, it's a steady, the pace of development has been very steady, may not have been exemplary in the Northeast, but the fact is, it is finally getting its linkages with the mainland, and now they are becoming part of the national mainstream.
The Prime Minister also called it that this is the 100th airport in the country by way of numbers, by way of civilian airports. This present government has also been implementing the Udan scheme, which is known as the Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik, where airports which have been lying abandoned or maybe some infrastructure is there and then you can renovate and put a shape of an airport and start small aircrafts taking off and on from there. This was inaugurated by the Prime Minister in 2016 from Shimla. So this is also a part of enlarging and executing the Udan scheme as such. Udan scheme has seen so many such airports coming up.
Well, I think the Udan scheme is very critical for its own connectivity, not only within the country, but to the neighboring parts in the hills.
That is the second phase that...
But Northeast as such has had an excellent road connectivity. Otherwise, for the last 35, 40 years, it would not have been able to reach the far corners of the Northeast. That has been one aspect which has helped, I think, the armed forces to a great extent to reach faraway places and near the borders with China and other places. So I think the Prime Minister did stress upon a few aspects by inaugurating this airfield. Point number one is he also spoke about how the people of Sikkim have, blazed a trail when it came to organic farming in particular. And he was keen that this should be taken to other states in the rest of the country.
This air connectivity would obviously help this organic farming also.
I think air connectivity will help in several ways, including pushing up tourism to that state. There is already a substantial part of tourism which is going to Sikkim, mostly from the mainland. People from the south, people from the east. People from the east have good connectivity to the northeast, but that has not been the case with the rest of the country. I think now that will be a plus point because Bagdogra is so beautifully connected not just to the national capital but to several parts of the country.
It has been a gateway for all these.
It has been a gateway to the northeast for several years. So now the first flight is going to be actually from Kolkata to this new airfield in Sikkim. So I think that's going to start on the 4th of October. It is a beginning, and it is a very important beginning which cannot be wished away. And the PM did speak about ordinary people using these flights for greater connectivity with different parts of the country.
Even the Bagdogra airport, which has been inaugurated today and will soon get into commercial operations by October 4th, as you said, has got a very wonderful wide runway, which is about 1.75 kilometer and a 30-meter width. So I'm sure because of the topography of the state and because of the terrain, initially there will be small aircraft which will be operated, and the airlines will also, I'm sure, will get interested once you see that the load of passengers is increasing. People are wanting to go into the state from this airport and also wanting to coming out from the state to other locations. So this will fill up to aviation sector in not only in specific in Sikkim but the states nearby. But this will surely come after you see the interest of the volume of passengers that uses this traffic.
No, I don't think that you will lack the volume of passengers. Passengers will be going there. It is a place where tourism is a great attraction, not just for people from the region in the northeast, but more so from other parts of the country. But I think on its own, how beautiful that place is, the kind of hills, the lakes and the ponds that it has. And there is a natural setting to the whole thing. Let's not forget, the border with China is not very far away from there.
You already said it is 60 kilometers from there.
Yeah, from there. But there is also the Nathula route which is being used for going to Mansarovar for pilgrimage annually. In between there was some problem, but the route has been reopened. So in every sense, in lot many other terms, in trade, in terms of trade, in terms of developing businesses, PM has also spoken about protecting the delicate environment of this hill state.
The ecological balance.
The ecological balance and so on. I think all these in its totality, I think it's a development which will enable to pursue many of these activities in that hill state.
The neighboring states for Sikkim, where virtually everyone has an airport or more than one, but the government is now also, apart from this Udan scheme, which is a part of an overall scheme of connecting the northeast with India and making going to the northeast better and easy. There have been a lot of steps also undertaken to ensure that you have better roads also to reach these states, and also rail connectivity, which the Railway Ministry through its own resources is trying to build up, so that every kind of a connectivity which any other state in the country enjoys can also be benefited by these northeastern states, which are rich in resources, have absolute great untapped tourism potential.
Well, I think a great effort is being made for connectivity by rail. Connecting any of the northeastern states by rail, quite a few of them, There is rail service in Agartala, there are rail services in several other places. But the Prime Minister did make a specific mention of it that we are trying to ensure rail connectivity right up to Gangtok. I think if something like that happens in the immediate future, again, it will be another great plus point. I think once you reach Assam, where the connectivity is very good, Assam, as a big state and gateway to the northeast, has an international airport. Apart from that, it has 5 domestic airports. So I think connectivity to Assam has its own importance. Not all of them are big airports to take in jets. Somewhere you could only have propeller-driven aircraft landing because the length of the runway is small. But in the overall sense, I think Assam is a much larger state. It's again a state of great importance to the country, and above everything else, that being the gateway to the northeast, I think a lot of the work needs to be connected with Assam in taking a route to the northeast and to the various states. I think this is a major breakthrough for the Modi government to get an airport started and functional about 8 months before the general elections. And the other aspect is that there are greater number of people from the northeast very visible in joining the national mainstream, I think, which in itself is a big achievement for any government. And therefore, this has not happened overnight. Ultimately, these things take time.
One step
at a time. And I think credit is due to the Modi government that they have shown greater sense of responsibility towards the Northeast. He himself mentioned that many of his ministers who have been assigned Northeast have been regularly visiting the state, undertaking tours, talking to the Chief Minister, speaking to several others, taking note of it. And an announcement made at the end of March, on March 29th earlier this year, by the Minister in charge of the Northeast. He had said that, henceforth any of the schemes that are approved for development in the Northeast, the centre used to provide 90% of the amount, but now that has been waived, and now henceforth, once those projects are completed, whatever project is undertaken henceforth will be fully reimbursed to 100% of the total cost of the project. I think this again
shows the commitment.
We give an impetus to overall development endeavors over there.
Even the Udan scheme, when we talked about the aviation sector and there have been so many airstrips with abandoned airports or maybe basic facility airports, abandoned, not being used, but there was a good potential of people who would want to take an aircraft from there, quickly reach to their destinations for business, for education, for to keep some important business appointments or to visit family or friends, and simultaneously, return format, the tourists reaching these locations. So Udan scheme, henceforth, the government recently opened the stakeholders' comments for the Udan Part 2, which will be where the Udan airports will be connected to destinations abroad, immediate neighbors in the east like Bangladesh and Bhutan. So this will in fact give a boost to the connectivity. No doubt you have already explained that this will give a boost to the connectivity, but this will enhance India's relations with these people-to-people connections from all the regions specific.
There can't be any doubt about that. If you have connectivity with the neighboring countries, which everybody wants, I'm sure there will be a greater inflow of people, and the people-to-people contact between Indians and these countries will definitely have a positive impact on the relations. I think that is something that the government on its own is trying to work and evolve a strategy, because we do have several problems with our neighbors, not to mention the most severe of them being our immediate neighbor, namely Pakistan. So I think the overall analysis, yes, the whole aspect is to focus attention on the Northeast. Not that we mention Northeast a few times and forget about it. There is focused attention, and certain things are being done to prop up its infrastructure and to provide electricity and other amenities which are basic essentials for the people. I think it's something that needs credit as far as the Modi government is concerned.
It is expected that this airport gets into commercial operations on its due date on October 4th, and the volume of passengers surely gives it a boost and the much required impetus to start aviation and airline connectivity to the Sikkim. Thank you so much, Mr. Ramchandran.
Thank you very much.
You were listening to a discussion on inauguration of first airport in Sikkim. The participants were T.R. Ramachandran, political analyst, and Neelab Srivastava, journalist. The program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. This program is also available on our website, newsonair.nic.in. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsttalks@gmail.com.